On 17th of August 1945, barely 1 month before the Second World War was declared over, the English fiction writer Eric Arthur Blair, commonly known by his pen name of George Orwell, published a book of fiction, Animal Farm.
New society, which they now named Animal Farm.
No animal shall sleep in a bed. No animal shall drink alcohol. Another animal. All animals are equal.
This book, which came to be one of the most famous political allegories, tries to introduce the world to events leading up to the Russian Revolution. With a small twist, the characters were symbolized with different farm animals. It started with Old Major, an inspiring aged boar who succeeds to fuel the rebellion, who is an allegorical combination of Karl Marx, one of the creators of communism, and Vladimir Lenin, the communist leader of the Russian Revolution. Throughout the revolution, three pigs stood out: Napoleon, Snowball, and Squealer. Napoleon was described as a large, rather fierce-looking Berkshire boar, the only Berkshire on the farm. Not much of a talker, but with a reputation for getting his own way, an allegory of Soviet Union dictator Joseph Stalin. Snowball, on the other hand, was Napoleon's rival and original head of the farm after Jones's overthrow. He is mainly based on Leon Trotsky. Squealer, although not as powerful as the previous characters, served an important role in Animal Farm. He was Napoleon's second in command and Minister of Propaganda, holding a position similar to that of Vyacheslav Molotov. In this video essay, I will explore the role of language as a tool of persuasion and manipulation from the four most important orators of the story: Old Major, Napoleon, Snowball, and Squealer. After watching the movie and reading the book, I've noticed that Snowball and Old Major have quite similar techniques of persuasion, using more fact-supported arguments and is seen delivering strong ethos, pathos, and logos, while Napoleon and Squealer makes use of the FUD, fear, certainty, and doubt, in order to bring down arguments that come up. In order to better understand the novel, we need to look at George Orwell's life, as well as the context surrounding it. Orwell was a democratic socialist, hostile towards Joseph Stalin and the idea of Stalinism, which he believed was brutal dictatorship, built upon a cult of personality and enforced by a reign of terror. He even stated in a letter that Animal Farm was a satirical tale against Stalin. He publicly stated that Animal Farm was the first book in which he tried to fuse political purpose and artistic purpose into one whole. From the discussion on the context, it can be seen that Animal Farm aims to illustrate the way Stalinism had betrayed the ideals of the socialist revolution in the Soviet Union. As Orwell put it, I thought of exposing the Soviet myth in a story that could be easily understood by almost anyone, and which could be easily translated into other languages. Animal Farm was an easier way for people who aren't familiar with political history to understand the story of the Russian Revolution through an allegorical fable. So, how does Animal Farm explore the role of language as a tool of persuasion and manipulation? Well, we can see three different techniques in the story. The first one is ethos, pathos, and logos. Second one is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. While the third one is repetition and propaganda. In the story, it is through a song titled Beasts of England. Ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos, an appeal to ethics, and it is a means of convincing someone of the character or credibility of the persuader. Pathos is an appeal to emotion, a way of convincing an audience of an argument by creating an emotional response. Logos is an appeal to logic, a way of persuading an audience by reason. These three modes of persuasion can be seen repetitively used throughout the story, especially by Snowball, the most logical pig of the four. This can be seen in Chapter 5, where Snowball is trying to convince the farm to go in favor to his plan to build a windmill. Let's take a look. As you can see, this is ethos, as Snowball has shown everyone his well-thought-out plans which he learned from reading books of engineering. This is pathos, the happy feeling of work being handled by something else. Why this is logos, where he provides logical reasoning of why the windmill is needed. Therefore, this is a good example of how Snowball have used ethos, pathos, and logos in order to persuade the society. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt, usually abbreviated as FUD, can be seen frequently throughout the novel, mainly by Napoleon and Squealer. The pigs took advantage of their intelligence to influence perception by twisting the words of other people and previous agreements, creating fear from the uncertainty and doubt of the society. As mentioned before, this is mainly seen from Napoleon and Squealer's behavior. An example of this is the speech Squealer brought out when the pigs stole the farm's apple for their own luxury. This statement shows that Squealer is trying to create the fear of Jones coming back in order for the pigs to get the luxury that they wanted. Repetition in propaganda. Beasts of England. Throughout the story, an instant technique of persuasion used is repetitive propaganda. This can be seen from the rebellion's propaganda song, Beasts of England. It has a catchy tone and the lyrics contain the rebellion's values, making it an easy way for information to be spread throughout the country. It was stated in a chapter that above all, the tune and even the words of Beasts of England were known everywhere. It had spread with astonishing speed. The human beings could not contain their rage when they heard the song, though they pretended to think it was merely ridiculous. From this analysis, another question comes up. How is language used by the animals, especially the pigs, to communicate hidden agenda? Well, often in the story, the pigs twist the words of others in order to get more privilege than other farm animals, while making it seem like they are doing it for the animal's welfare. This can be defined with a term called euphemism, a mild or indirect word or expression substituted for one considered to be too harsh or blunt when referring to something unpleasant or embarrassing. The pigs tend to use softer, kinder words in order to make the farm animals do the things they want them to do. An example of this is telling the animals that working on the windmill was voluntary work, but they get punished anyways for not working on it. Let's look at some more examples. One of their agendas was that although all animals are equal, they wanted to be the leaders, the ones with the most power. It is stated in the original 7 commandments that animals are not allowed to sleep in a bed, but the pigs try to make it seem as if a bed is essential in order for their brains to function effectively. The statement was later even modified to all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. Another example was when Napoleon tries to chase Snowball off the farm so that he'll be the leader. When the society questions the sudden disappearance of Snowball, Squealer successfully makes it seem like Snowball isn't loyal nor obedient, that he is no better than a criminal. All in all, this video essay has shown that ethos, pathos, and logos, FUD, and repetitive propaganda are the most visible uses of language used to persuade throughout the novel. The characters, Old Major, Napoleon, Snowball, and Squealer, shown to have used these forms of languages effectively, thus establishing the ideology and the outcomes of the revolution they lead, and the animal farm. With that being said, although some creatures are more intelligent than others, the art of persuasion, the art of getting what you want, seems to be one of the most powerful skills anyone can have in order to get people to do what they want them to do.
On farms
In the words of Napoleon, long live Animal Farm!